All right, welcome back to the second part of the conversation. Well, just yesterday we had the People's Democratic Party had their NEC meeting, which was held here in Maitama around Abuja. And we're trying to look at the outcome of this 99th NEC meeting. That's the National Executive Committee meeting of the People's Democratic Party. And joining me to look at this conversation, and the various resolution that was reached yesterday in the conversation is Onanuju Katch, who is a public affairs analyst and also a member of the People's Democratic Party. Good morning, and so good to have you join me this morning, Dr. Onanuju.
Good morning. Thank you also for having me. It's very good to be here with you and your audience.
All right, thank you so much once again. Now, let's delve into the conversation, looking at what played out yesterday. The first concern from the communique that was issued is that the mandate that was given to NEC and also suggested to the People's Democratic Party in terms of what the Southeast zone have reached, that said that, okay, they want Okoye to become the party secretary, taking over from Anya. We didn't see that play out yesterday. There's a resolution from NEC meeting yesterday. So let me put it straight at this point. Without this putting in place, do you still think at this point that PDP still have a stronghold even within the eastern part of Nigeria?
Well, it's an issue of not just the East. It's a general problem with the party. The party fell into crisis for one simple reason. The party refused to adhere to its historical principle of zoning. And that was what cost the most people from the East, led by Governor Peter Obi, to pull out. And then subsequently, the foundation of the obedient movement. Now, all the things you're hearing from the East about secretaryship, and those are no small things. The main issue in the party, whether you discuss it outside the party as alliance members, as they are now speaking, or you discuss it inside the party at members of the PDP, it's zoning. If you don't zone the presidency to the south, nobody's going to come back to you. The people making noise in Enugu, they don't have clout. The minute Peter Obi left, together with a lot of those who followed him, the eastern flank crumbled. So and when it crumbled, that's when you now saw all this Boy Scout acrobatic struggle for position and those who want to now fill in the gap. So the PDP is right to ignore them and continue to fine-tune itself to move to its national convention. At the convention, all these things will be holistically dealt with. So the fundamental issue in all this is you have seen some kind of calibration of let's talk to ourselves. Yes, Atiku has said alliance, but all those are just rhetorics. You cannot remove the party members and go to talk outside the party without dealing with the historical foundational problem which caused the disintegration of the people that are now calling themselves back to come and talk to themselves as alliance. No rhetorics, no tricks, no acrobatics can deceive people like Peter Obi. Peter knows the reasons why we left the party and started the youth movement. So no matter what you talk to Peter Obi about there, if you do not resolve that foundational problem of zoning to the south, you will not have any issues. So please, I will beg you ignore the noise from the east. They have already fallen. They don't have capacity. They cannot bring the votes. The votes in the east are with Peter Obi. So all those people fighting for positioning, and advantage, those are little, and it doesn't really mean nothing. So, what I will advise everybody is to focus, support the Bukola Saraki Committee, let it hold itself to be able to bring all governors together. Of course, you cannot say the party governors are beginning to tell Nyesom Wike some home truths. And of course, that's not very good. So whether you call it the Eastern and disagreements, all those are part of the crisis that have come as a consequence of the internal implosion that caused a disintegration of the party. We must put our thoughts and mind towards uniting the opposition for the sake of our democracy. And for us to do that, we must restore back. Since the North has had 8 years of governing the country under Buhari, the pendulum of the political switch would now come to the South. Yes, the presidency is now in the South for 2 years. Don't expect the people from the East to become those that will help engineer the presidency being removed from the South to the North. It will not happen. It will not happen. So most of those people you see fighting now for advantage from the East, they don't pack any punch. They can't do nothing. We've taken away the party out of their hands. So now that we are thinking about uniting the opposition and we're calling it the name of coalition, we cannot run away from the fact of what caused the trouble, which is zoning. If you don't zone, nobody will give you. And let me also tell you another issue. In the midst of the current Fulani war across the country, it would be foolish to hand over the presidency to a Fulani man. He's very weak against the militiamen, as we saw in the hands of President Buhari. I think he's not going to be the person who will repair it. No, one, he's not been known to openly condemn the militiamen's actions. He is a patron of the Mieti Allah, so it will never work. If the opposition wants to get it together, take a trusted person like Peter and build everything around him so that you can have a chance going into election. But if you begin to still play the same old tricks based on the creation of states by the military, the Southerners know that those numbers don't rest with the military. The numbers rest with what you see on the street. Today, with availability of data, we know what it is. The most popular politician today in Africa is P2B. Let us build behind him. For me, that is a bigger problem, that is a bigger issue, that is a bigger cake for us to share. Never mind the small issues that I will call symptoms of the major problem. So for me, I'd rather we look at the convention and pray that the opposition is beginning better to build themselves back. If they have 7, if they have 8, if they have 10 or 12 governors, that is a better foundation to build from, and we can then move to bring in the youth movement to help to rebuild the opposition. Is the only way to rebuild the opposition. Nobody can gain his way through any tricks. No acrobatics will change it. No. If B2B is not at the head of the ticket, the obedient movement would not support him. And he knows he is nobody without the support of the obedient movement, which we founded and which we still lead. And that's why we've told him that whatever it is that will bring peace to unite the opposition, he must never forget the reasons why we left the PDP to start the youth movement. So if you now want to bring everybody back together, you need to do the needful, and that is zone the presidency to the south.
All right, Doctor, let's even take the conversation a bit further. And looking at what played out yesterday, of course, it's no longer news that PDP is divided against itself. where we have the Yesom Wike faction and that of the Shea Makinde's faction. And a lot of analysts will say right now that Sheyi Makinde is already leading because what played out yesterday was aligned with what Sheyi Makinde has always advocated for, and this has become like a 0 point for Wike. So if you look at it, it is 1-0. One for Sheyi Makinde, 0 for Yesom Wike at this point in time. But then this old conversation again, there tend to be the fact that Wike is not just the elephant in the room, or rather Wike has become the elephant in and within the People's Democratic Party. Looking at the outcome of the NEC meeting yesterday, which does not align with what Yesom Wike has stood for and what he has always advocated for over the last couple of years, do you think, again, that this NEC outcome of yesterday will stand, despite the fact that it is not aligning with Wike's thought, or it will further divide the party along ethnic sentiments and religious lines?
First and foremost, you are wrong in your characterization because Nyesom Wike and Seyi Makinde are members of the same caucus. What you're now noticing now is a cracking of that caucus. So Makinde, Wike, Autumn, Buruburu of Enugu State, and Mr. The former governor Victor of Abia State. Okezie Victor was part and parcel of the committee they called themselves G5, and that G5 was Wike, Victor Okezie, Bulubulu of Enugu State, and Autumn. Those were the 5. What you are supposed to characterize is the sudden cracking in that coalition. That's what it is. So amongst those group, Sheyi Makinde is actively still an incumbent. Makinde is now telling you that he will no more go the way of Wike. So it's not like this against that. No, it is them inside that G5 against themselves. And that's how you must see this. I do not see, it has nothing to do with the other side of the PDP. No, what you're trying to describe is a shifting of spaces inside the old G5 alliance. So that caucus has now gone apart. It's a good thing for the PDP. How far they disagree with themselves, I don't know. And I don't want to start dwelling into that. That's why I have spoken to the larger problem, which is the original reason for the disintegration of the party. So, Makinde, Autumn, Okezie, Ikpeazu, and Buruburu, and Wike, those are just members of one gang. What we should be talking about is that gang is finally speaking against themselves. That's what it is. So if it leads to Makinde returning back to the PDP fold, congratulations to him. Congratulations to those who stand to gain with his returning back to the PDP argument. And that, for me, is how it should be and how they should treat this issue. And by the way, one of them governors, if not Makinde, should pay off the ground rent that he's owing, that the PDP seems to be owing, and let them end this distraction with the PDP secretariat being issues of argument. No. People's properties will not be confiscated by government simply because one rent or the other has not been paid. No, you hold the property there, and then whenever the owner comes to claim it, you tell him to pay before he continues building. It's as simple as that. No, you go there, you say you confiscated, taking over. It doesn't work that way. And I thank President Tinubu for intervening to say, no, give people time to come and pay. And that's what I believe. They are simply just grandstanding to get people to pay more money, and I encourage people to go and pay more money.
All right, Doc. So I asked that particular question in order to also ask this particular one where there is this allegation that the person of Yesom Wike and Sheyi Makinde, despite the fact that right now there is a crack, like you rightly said, and they are both on loggerheads right now. When Wike is saying that Sheyi Makinde is a betrayer, and also Mba of Enugu are both betrayers, and they betrayed him. But looking at the larger perspective of this issue, there is this allegation that both parties are working to return President Bola Tinubu into office, and that's why they're having a lot of this distraction in order to distract the party from staying focused and also becoming a very formidable force to reckon with by Nigerians, especially within the opposition strides of Nigeria. But looking at this from your own angle, do you think that Sheyi Makinde and Wike are working to distract the People's Democratic Party in order to champion the cause of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's re-election, knowing fully well that this was almost what played out in 2023, where, like you've rightly said, that they belong to the same caucus and they worked to bring President back. Is this a reinterpretation of that, what played out in 2023, or reinvention of what played out in 2023?
No, they were members of a caucus who shared the same mindset as those of us who left to join Peter Obi in the obedient movement. And that mind share is the agitation for zoning to be respected. Atiku Abubakar in 2013 formed a caucus called MPDP, used that caucus to advance his arguments about zoning and that the presidency should be zoned to the north. He was later on able to build a larger national coalition with other politicians from other political parties, about 5 political parties, who also shared in that vision of zoning the presidency to the north. And in that particular arrangement, Atiku Abubakar ran in the primary in Lagos of that particular coalition, but he didn't win that ticket. The ticket was won by President Buhari. If the North has now done 8 years, it makes sense that the presidency should come back to the South. But of course, Atiku, in his manipulative ways, he gave money to the NWC, collected funds from them, and they started spending the money. And that was why, when the party set up a committee on zoning, he couldn't do anything. As far as the 100 million paid by Atiku for nomination form is being expended by the PDP NWC, you cannot decide against him participating in the election through a zoning committee without making arrangement to return that 100 million back to him. And since they couldn't do it, that the party made their ways and they were too weak to decide on zoning, and the party disintegrated. It is that disintegration that people now want to fix. Atiku calls it coalition talks. You must.
All right, Doc, we're still trying to get you to talk
Resolve
about.
the crisis
All right.
that fell out of that. So we must make peace, and the only way to make peace is not through the conjectures you're now asking me about Sheyi Makinde, and think about how to zone the presidency back to the south so as to bring peace to the party. That's all. Those conjectures you're talking about, I don't want to put my words to them because I don't believe them. Allow the zoning to come to the south, and then let us see how they act. It's like Atiku lying that he wanted to go to the southeast. So what stops you now from letting it go to the southeast? Instead, you're floating stony, you want to run. Yeah, Peter B will be VP. How can you be giving him phantom VP ticket when you're not yet a candidate? Telling you that the man is deceptive and very manipulative. Please discard all the side talks that distracts us from the truth. The main problem in all this is that the PDP failed to zone and the PDP disintegrated. So all these things coming out of it, I suspect you're working for Tinubu. Tinubu is a southerner. And the agreement in that group was the president should go to the south. That's what it was. Autumn himself believed that nobody from the north can stop the war the Fulanis have levied in his state. And that was why he was with that people. So zone the presidency to the south and we will have peace.
All right, Doc. Doc, currently we have a situation where we've seen what has played out even in the NEC meeting just yesterday, where the NEC failed to address pressing issues that is confronting the party right now. With all of this, Atiku, on the other hand, is championing the cause of coalition and also more of reconciliation among aggrieved party members and try to reconcile them. Of course, Saraki is also working in that line to address those concerns. But if this whole reconciliation process go through, do you think again that PDP will want to subject itself to a coalition and also change its name to become a formidable force for Nigerians to trust and reckon with?
What you're talking about is a coalition. People have mooted the idea, but they cannot still do coalition outside a political party arrangement. As I yesterday, uh, Mr. El was still on top of the affairs about SDP. That just tells you, even though Atiku and his people have gone to ADC, others haven't followed him into ADC. So that tells you that they know these are just talks. A lot of them who understand what's going on know that the foundational problem there is to resolve the issue of if you come together, you must zone the presences to the south if you seek peace. So all the people you see going around talking coalition, those are just using other languages from trying to resolve their issue that led to the disintegration of their former union that had all of them together. For you now to be able to bring the opposition back, you need to gain the confidence of opposition members from the south. Never mind the worthless words of losers in the south who have lost out, as most southerners pulled out of the PDP, so they could be coming and going around and come and support us. Support what? Support their old caucus with their old leader, Atiku. It will not work. It will not work. Okay, since the obedient movement now has P2P, and they have, so let others go and also build their own platforms so that when we come, not you don't have anything, you come, you say, I want to be president or what? Obi already has a platform, he has millions behind him. Go try to get your own platform so that you can come and negotiate with him. You want to come, you have nothing, and you just want to invite people, and then you say, that's it. These people don't know how to act, they don't know how to organized, they don't know how to bring the votes out. The obedient movement knows how to bring the vote out. So if you want to now play with P2B, you join. But you negotiate on protections as you join. Not you call them and try to get them subsumed under your trickery. It will not work. It will not work. Whether you call it coalition or you call it peacemaking in the PDP, whether you do it inside the party or you do it outside the party, the foundational problem is zoning. If you don't zone your ticket to the south, no coalition will work. Take my word to the bank.
All right, Doc, just as we begin to wrap up, if you are saying that we should zone, PDP should zone its tickets to the southern part of Nigeria, and to a very large extent, you've been fronting for for Peter Obi, the Labour Party presidential candidate, saying that if the ticket is given to him, the chances of, or let me get you correctly on that. Are you saying that if Peter Obi is given the ticket from the People's Democratic Party, he stands the largest chance to win in the forthcoming election come 2027?
It's if you give P2B the ticket, the first thing you will do, you will unite the opposition. That is a plus for the democracy. The issues about winning will be in the contributions of members, because what your political parties are a conglomeration of strength from different areas. So if they want to unite the opposition, the first thing you zone the presidencies to the south, and that will bring it together. The issue about winning is a different issue.
All
Issue
right,
about being declared is a different issue.
Well, Prof, Doc, won't this again throw Nigeria into a one-party state, which it's already tilting towards right now? And of course, Peter Obi has always frowned at a one-party system operating in the state. But again, bringing Obi and knowing fully well that Obi wants to reconcile a lot of opposition party if he's been fronted as the presidential candidate for the coalition, wouldn't this throw us to the concrete and the full definition of a one-party state?
No, a one-party state is where you have no opposition. Because of Nigeria's diversity and its heterogeneous nature in terms of tribal mix-ups, Nigeria will never be a one-party state. It's not possible. How can it be? The fundamentals are not there. Forget about the coercion. Coercing first-term governors that if they don't join you, you may not protect them from the coercive effects of the incumbent party. That's a different issue. No, if you want the country not to fall into one-party state, allow the opposition to be strong. And the only way opposition can be strong is if they are united. And the only way to unite it is to do the right thing. That particular thing, which you have found out through an autopsy, was the reason for the disintegration of the opposition. Correct it. It has been done before. When the Northerners left with Atiku to go join to found the APC coalition, the PDP now recognized that the only way for it to bring itself back is to zone the presence to the north. That's what they did in 2019. They zoned it to the north and the people came back and the party was full. So if you now want to bring back the party and bring back the opposition, you correct the same mistake you made in 2023. Zone the presidency to the south. Simple. I don't know why we should be talking about this 10 times. That's nothing that is rocket science about it. Zone it, and then you can start organizing from that.
Okay, so Doc, a lot of analysts will say that PDP is in the ICU right now, intensive care unit, and the party needs an urgent surgery in order to bounce back, to come back alive. But looking at it right now and looking at the forthcoming convention of the party, if the zoning of the presidency does not finally get to the south, it doesn't go to the south, what do you think will be the outcome of the People's Democratic Party if zoning eventually does not go to the south?
If it doesn't zone to the south, it will die. They will just go to the convention and appoint undertakers who will be in charge of burial of the party. That's all. One, it's better for the party to be led by the most popular politician today in Africa, which is Peter Obi, than you put it in the hands of an 80-year-old man who is very weak, that can't do anything. So there's nothing, there are no comparison. There are no alternatives. You want to be alive, follow the game where everybody is on board. You want to die, that's your business. Continue to do the same thing. You cannot have new outcomes if you continue to do the same old things that you were doing. What is it that got the PDP where it is right now? It is its refusal to zone, and that's all. So if you want to cure it, zone to the south, and that's all. And then target P2P, and he will bring his obedient movement to rebuild the opposition, unite the opposition, and the democracy will be better for it. So then they can go to election.
All right, Dr. Katch Onanuju, I want to say thank you so much for finding out time to be with us this morning here on Global Television.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, viewers, this is how far we can go this morning on a Global Morning. Do remember that you can join the conversation on our various social media handle currently showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. Don't forget that you can also download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app from your Android and iOS devices to stay on track with our broadcasts. My name is Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. From all of us here on the Global Morning crew, it is bye for now.